Not every hero wears a cape, but what Johnny Depp did that day proved that sometimes real heroes walk among us. What started as a simple visit would soon change a boy's life forever. But what happened next? No one saw coming. The flashing cameras, red carpets, and roaring crowds. This was the world Johnny Depp knew too well. But today, there were no flashing cameras, no roaring crowds, just the quiet hum of an aging orphanage, hidden away in the heart of Los Angeles. Johnny had always believed in giving back, but this visit felt different. He had been to hospitals, shelters, and charity events before, but something about this place weighed on him in a way he couldn't explain. The moment he stepped inside, he sensed it. The quiet longing, the unspoken stories etched into the walls, the dreams written in the eyes of children who had spent years waiting for something or someone. As the distant laughter of children echoed through the halls, Johnny's footsteps slowed. His eyes scanned the walls adorned with colorful drawings, each one a silent plea for a future beyond those walls. Some drawings were full of hope, families holding hands, sunny days in the park. But others told a different story. A small figure standing alone in the rain, a window with no light behind it, a heart with cracks running through it. And then, through the doorway, he saw him. A boy sitting quietly with a notebook clutched to his chest, as if it held the only world that truly understood him. And in that moment, Johnny had no idea that one simple question would change everything. It was a sunny day in Los Angeles. Johnny had set out to visit a charity organization he had long supported. When he entered the orphanage, the children playing in the yard noticed him and excitedly shouted his name. Some reached for his hand, others eagerly called out to him. Their energy filled him with warmth. But among them, sitting quietly in the corner with an old notebook in his hands, was a child who seemed lost in his own world. Johnny Depp, despite being a globally recognized actor, had always been known for his humility and compassion. He had donated to numerous charities, visited children in hospitals, and actively participated in relief projects. He wasn't just an on-screen hero. He made a difference in real life as well. To him, wealth and fame were meaningless if they didn't serve a greater purpose. His visit to the orphanage was a testament to this belief. Johnny paused for a moment, gazing at the solitary child. "So, what's your biggest dream?" he asked. Daniel didn't answer right away. It was as if he had been waiting for someone to ask this question for a long time, but he hesitated to say it aloud. Finally, he lifted his head, looked into Johnny's eyes, and whispered in a trembling voice, "Will someone ever come to take me home?" Johnny stood frozen. Most children dreamed of toys, trips, or great adventures. But Daniel's biggest dream was simply to have a family. A deep sorrow filled Johnny's heart at that moment. As they sat together, Johnny wanted to know more about Daniel's past. He spoke with the orphanage director and listened intently to the boy's story. When Daniel was just 4 years old, his parents had been killed in a tragic car accident. With no relatives willing to take him in, he had been placed in foster care. Over the years, he had been shuffled between different homes, never finding a permanent family. Each time he started to feel safe, he was moved again, eventually becoming another forgotten child in the system. For years, Daniel had tried to adapt to every new environment. But every time he was uprooted, it reminded him of how alone he truly was. Sometimes, he would wake up in the middle of the night, sitting silently in the dark, believing no one truly wanted him. Other children misunderstood his quiet nature, and some even bullied him. But Daniel never expressed his emotions outwardly. The only place he shared his thoughts was in his notebook, his only true companion. As Johnny flipped through Daniel's notebook, one sentence stood out, written in large letters. "If someone loves me, I want a place in their heart where I'll never be forgotten." These words struck Johnny deeply. He realized that Daniel wasn't asking for much, just the simple love and sense of belonging that every child deserved. And he decided he would do something about it. The visit had started as an ordinary outreach effort, but Johnny now felt an unshakable connection to this child. He couldn't just walk away. That night, as he lay in bed, Daniel's words echoed in his mind. He had the resources to make a real difference, not just for Daniel, but for all the children in the orphanage. The next morning, he called his team and arranged for a large donation that would provide long-term support for the orphanage. But money alone wasn't enough. He wanted to be personally involved. Johnny worked with the orphanage's staff to develop new programs that would benefit not only Daniel, but all the children there. They established psychological support initiatives, ensuring that every child had access to counseling and mentorship. They built a new playground and upgraded the classrooms to provide a better learning environment. Scholarships were set up so that the children could receive quality education and explore their interests, whether in music, art, or sports. Over the weeks, Johnny continued visiting, spending time with the children, and making sure his contributions were creating real change. He arranged for professionals to come in and teach life skills, preparing the older kids for independent living when they aged out of the system. More than just improving the facilities, Johnny wanted to restore hope. He wanted every child there to know they mattered. Daniel, in particular, began to blossom under Johnny's attention. The once quiet boy, who had sat alone in the corner with his notebook, started engaging more with the other children. He smiled more, participated in group activities, and even opened up about his dreams. He wanted to be a writer one day, to tell stories that would touch hearts just as his own had been touched. As time went on, Johnny knew that his work wasn't done. Daniel still didn't have a family. One night, as he spoke with a close friend, he mentioned Daniel's story. His friend, a kind-hearted man who had always wanted to adopt, listened intently. He and his wife had discussed adoption before, but had never taken the final step. Hearing about Daniel changed everything. A few months later, after a careful legal process and many heartfelt conversations, Daniel found himself in a new home. His new parents weren't just kind, they truly wanted him. The transition wasn't easy at first. Daniel had been let down so many times before. But this time was different. His new family was patient, loving, and understanding. They supported his love for writing, helped him with school, and introduced him to a world beyond the orphanage. Johnny remained in touch, checking in often. He visited on birthdays, took Daniel out for little adventures, and made sure he always knew he was part of something bigger. Daniel had gone from feeling invisible to knowing he was loved, and that made all the difference. As years passed, the impact of Johnny's actions extended far beyond just one child. The orphanage continued to thrive, helping hundreds of other children find homes and opportunities. Daniel, now a young man, went on to study creative writing in college. His first published book was dedicated to the man who had once knelt down beside him and asked, "What's your biggest dream?" Johnny Depp wasn't just a movie star, he was a real-life hero. Through his compassion and dedication, he changed not only Daniel's life, but the lives of countless children. His contributions to the orphanage ensured that hundreds of children would receive better care, education, and opportunities for the future. Daniel's story wasn't just about one child being saved, it was about an entire community finding hope. Johnny's actions proved that sometimes the smallest gestures could have the greatest impact. The orphanage was no longer just a place where children waited for a home. It had become a sanctuary where they were nurtured, loved, and empowered. And it all started with a single whispered question: will someone ever come to take me home? Sometimes, the greatest miracles are hidden within the heart of a child. And sometimes, meeting the right person at the right time doesn't just change one life, it changes many.